Shalom to you. Thank you for clicking on this video and listening to what I have to say. Now, this is not a popular topic among Christians. It was certainly not a popular topic with me. I was in several debates with people, arguments, with people who knew better. People who are like I am now, that actually did the research, learned it, and accepted that this is the truth. So, strap in. We're going to do this study here, and I'm going to point out a few things that, like I said, are not popular, but they need to be said. And here we go. So the topic is Christmas and Easter, and I picked these two holidays, I guess you could call them, because they are the most popular in America. In Christianity, they seem to be more holy than the actual feasts of our Elohim, of Yahweh. And so we're gonna kind of talk about these. Now, first, I'm gonna read a few things. I'm gonna put this link in the description below this video. What you were looking at now is the top part of this page. It is from www.eliyahu.com/paganexp.html. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description box. But this is a great website for information like this. This particular one is about Christmas. And as I was kind of getting ready for talking about what I'm about to talk about, I remembered this page, and I came here, and it pretty much, for the most part, has all the scriptures that I would have been going over. So I'm going to use this page a lot. So I'm going to read what I have to read from the scriptures, and then I'm going to expand and just talk about it and explain some things that the scriptures do not explain. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about, or I want to read to you, let's go to Deuteronomy. This is Deuteronomy 12:29. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Deuteronomy in Hebrew would be the Devarim, the words. I'm not 100% sure on that. I apologize for that. Okay, Deuteronomy 12:29. When Yahweh your Elohim cuts off from before you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you displace them and dwell in their land, take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I will do likewise. Okay, so we have a command. This is in the Torah, by the way. We have a command. When you go into these foreign nations, then the land, the Goyim, the Gentile nations, is what Goyim means. Goyim basically means foreign nation, another nation, in a sense. And they have their own gods, and they do today too. You got Buddha and Allah and bunch of other gods that I don't want to say. But there are a lot of pagan gods. Now, here's the command. It says, take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I also will do likewise. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, that's simple. I just won't serve, I won't serve other gods. I'm not going to do like that, okay? I serve the creator of all things. I'm not going to do that. Well, that's not the end of it. So, I'm going to go down to 31 here. 31 says, you shall not worship Yahweh your Elohim, you shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way. For every abomination to Yahweh, which he hates, they have done to their gods, for they burn even their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. Whatever I command you, be careful to observe it. You shall not add to it, nor take away from it. So, it's even deeper now. You shall not worship Yahweh, your Elohim, in that way. Let's bring up the full context. take heed that you do not get ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I also will do likewise. You shall not worship Yahweh or Elohim in that way. So now it's one thing to say, okay, I won't serve other gods. But now it's another thing to say, I won't serve my God like they do theirs. I won't do their practices to worship my God, Yahweh. I will not do like them. And he goes on to say, for every abomination to Yahweh, which he hates, they have done to their gods. Now, I'm going to stop there and do a real good, quick Google search here. Let's look up the word. What word am I looking up? Oh, yeah. Abomination. There it is. Define. Alright, here it is. Definition of abomination. A thing that causes disgust or hatred. A feeling of hatred. And didn't he say that? I believe he actually said that. Let's go back. Where is it? There it is. Let's see here. Look down here. And it says, for every abomination to Yahweh which he hates. Every abomination to which he hates. So he even says the definition of what abomination is. So basically, he hates the practices of these pagans and the way they worship their pagan gods. And then he even solidifies this and says, you shall not add, whatever I command you, be careful to observe it. You shall not add to it nor take away from it. So it's pretty clear that the Almighty is saying, don't do like these nations, these goyim pagans, do to their gods. Don't even say that you're going to worship me like this, okay? It's an abomination. I hate it. Don't take away or add to this command. Okay? Everything I command you, observe it. Do it. Shema. Hear and obey. So that's pretty important, isn't it? So let's what else did I want to read? My apologies. Okay. So okay, now since I've read that, let's just go back up here for now. Okay. Yoink. Now you can listen to an audio version of this. There's also a video you can watch pertaining to this particular topic on this website. Again, the link is going to be down in the description. Now, those were the passages I wanted to read to you, because that's all you really need. That's from the Torah. I've already pretty much proven on this channel that the Torah is in effect for today. You hear and obey every word, devar, that comes from the mouth of Yahweh, and every word that he spoke was written down. And that's what we have today as the Torah. So the command is, don't do as the pagans do, don't even do it to worship me. Here's the story. And I have more scripture after the story. Okay, so what happened back in the Genesis era, Bereshit, during that time frame? Noah had a son, he had a son, and so on. One of those sons, one of those grandsons, really, from Noah, turned out to be a man named Nimrod, and he was the king of the Babylonian Empire. Now, Babylon, of course, and you see this theme throughout Scripture, is a very bad place. It's, in fact, they've even, which modern day Babylon today is like Iraq and Iran, all those Arabic areas, those kind of nations over in the Middle East. So what you have from that is, and also, by the way, they have this, I forget what the coordinates are. It's some kind of map coordinate where you can see this entire band around the entire planet, and it's within these certain degrees is the only place, or at least the majority of world religions were created. I thought that was interesting. But anyways, let's get into this. Okay, so Nimrod was king of Babylon. Now I believe his dad, Nimrod's dad, came and killed him, chopped him into tiny pieces, and spread his pieces all over the land. Now, what happened was his wife, Nimrod's wife, Semiramis, she spoke to the people and put out some kind of edict or whatever you want to call it, and basically said that he has not died, he's not been killed. Instead, he has ascended up into the sun, and he is now the sun god, Mithra. So from that spawned all the, they got themselves priests of Mithra, and they got this whole new religion going on for the worship of the sun god Mithra, and all this. And that's basically, I guess you could say, really, that's the origin of all paganism and false godhoodship, or whatever. I think I just made up a new word. That's where the beginning of all our troubles came from. But well, so to speak. Anyways, so you have that story. You got the sun god Mithra, and eventually, what you have is a solar calendar. I think all of us, or at least all of you listening to this, are familiar with the Gregorian calendar, and that's a calendar based on the sun. It's a solar calendar. Every day of every month of the year is named after a pagan god. January, Janus. I know August is Augustus, because that was the Roman god. I know he was a man, but they worshipped him as a god. Things like that. And every day of the week also, I know most of them. Wednesday I know is Odin's day, and Thursday is Thor's day, and Friday is Freya. Saturday, Saturn. Sunday, of course, is Sun. And so you have that. You got the solar calendar going on, which is completely opposite of what Yahweh's calendar is. His is a lunar calendar. And I think it was around 400s of the Common Era, AD, CE, whatever you want to call it. Constantine, he was a Roman emperor, and he was actually a worshiper of Mithra. In fact, on his currency of that day, you see Sol Invictus Mithra on it. So he worshipped Mithra, and a lot of people think he was the first Christian, which is untrue, or first Roman Christian, something like that. And he was the first one to start tolerating and allowing Christianity in. But what happened really was he actually caused and told the Christians that, or Messianics, whatever you want to call them, that they would be tolerated. They have to get rid of everything Jewish, so no more feast days, no more lunar calendar, no more Sabbath keeping. But in order for them to, have a day of worship, he allowed them to start congregating and worshiping on Sunday, and doing it like his sun god religion was done. They could keep those feast days or festivals like they had, like Christmas and Easter and so on. So that's where that came from. That's how all this paganism really got integrated into Christianity and into the church today. Now we're going to go back in time, back to when Nimrod had was killed and all that. And by the way, all of the he became the sun and blah blah blah. All of that is legend and myth. It is completely untrue. Just so you know. So now we're going to go on to his wife Semiramis. Now she got pregnant. But she said that it was not of a man's seed. She was impregnated by the rays of the sun from her husband, who's now Mithra, used to be Nimrod. He impregnated her through the rays of the sun, and she gave birth to a boy, a male named Tammuz. He was, by the way, born on December 25th, along with a ton of other pagan gods. Jesus was not born on December 25th. Okay, and the reason we celebrate his birthday is because of the birth of Tammuz and Jupiter and Zeus and I believe Ra, the Egyptian sun god. All of these were said to have been born on December 25th, which I believe is the winter solstice. It's the day that is traditionally known as the day that has the most sunlight, or the earth is exposed to the sun the most on particular sides. That is the winter solstice. Okay, so that's what you have there. It was also known as the festival where the of the unconquerable sun, sun. So that's when and that's how that day got instituted as Christmas. Christmas, by the way, is Old English for Christ's festival. Mass is like a coming together. It's not, yeah. Anyways, but okay, the birth of Tammuz, the son of Semiramis and the Mithra, which by the way is untrue. He was born on December 25th, and she held him as the reincarnation of Mithra. So, okay, you know what? Do I have a picture? Let me see if I can find a picture. Images. Oh dear, it's going to show bad things, isn't it? Sorry, I wasn't thinking. But this isn't bad, what you're seeing anyways. Okay, Tammuz statue. See what happens. Looking for something else. Pharyngean. I'm probably spelling this wrong. Cap. Hey, there it is. That's what I'm looking for. Haha. I knew it was around here somewhere. Okay, so. Sorry for the delay. What you're seeing here is Santa Claus. No, it's Tammuz. He was actually very popular for wearing this kind of cap. What you're looking at here is the origin of Santa Claus's hat. And Santa Claus, by the way, I think is fashioned after a false god called... What was he called? Actually, I think this is what we're looking at here. Yoink. Yeah. Incarnations of Saint Nicholas. I want to say it's Molech. Really not sure, though. But it's this dude. Because I think what happened basically is there was a furnace inside this belly here. And this might not be the right god, but anyways, it would burn bright red, and they would sacrifice their infant children on the lap of this idol. And oh, great, no, I can't. Really? Oh wait, there we go. They would sacrifice their children on the lap of this. Not too much has changed, has it? Because you got this dude. Hey, look, it's the Pope. Dagon, fish god hat, right there. Anyways, so it burned bright red, and he was wearing the Tammuz cap, and he has the children on the lap. Anyways, there you go. There's paganism and Christmas. Okay, so Tammuz, he died late in his life. Well, actually kind of early if you think about it. I think he was about 40. Yes, he was 40 years old when he died. He was bored by a wild boar to death. And what happened with that was they instituted the 40 days of weeping for Tammuz, where they afflict themselves and all this kind of stuff. Today, I think it's known as a Lent, which I think is traditionally carried out by Catholics. But anyways, okay, so Semiramis, the legend goes on that, she ascended into heaven, but she was found to be too pure even for heaven, so she was sent back down to earth in a giant egg. She landed in the Euphrates River. When it hatched or whatever, she came out as the goddess of fertility, known as Ishtar, or Astarte, but you would more commonly know of her as Easter. That's also the name that Esther took on, so that she would not be recognized as a Jew, which you can actually take a pretty interesting application with that. She took on the pagan goddess's name so that she would not be recognized as a Yehudi or a Jew or a person of God. Think about that. Alright, so now to prove her divinity, she turned a bird into an egg-laying rabbit. There's your Easter rabbit for you. And the practice was that the priests of Ishtar would impregnate women, I think virgins, but in any case women, at the altar of Ishtar, and when the children were born, they would sacrifice them to Ishtar. And by the way, this is a fertility goddess. I don't know if I said that. And they would dye eggs, the eggs of Ishtar, in the blood of the infant children. Now today, what is practiced is a little bit different. They still dye the eggs, but they use paint. Actually, I think in parts of Israel, I'm not sure, that's still kind of practiced more so, the pagan areas. They actually dye it in blood red paint. But in any case, these are the traditions that are being carried out in Christianity. Now, a lot of Christians are starting to step up and say, you know, what does the Easter Bunny and eggs and Santa have to do with God and so forth? Which is good. It's a good start, but it's not the complete picture because, in fact, Easter and Christmas has absolutely zero to do with the Almighty and His Scriptures and His Torah and His ways. As a matter of fact, they're just like what I read to you back in Deuteronomy and Devarim, that you are not to even worship the Almighty the way the pagans do. Now they select Ishtar or Easter, which falls on a Sunday. You have Easter Sunday, which by the way is not the day Yeshua was resurrected from the grave. Has nothing to do with it. Complete different topic and subject. Christmas is the furthest thing you could think of from his birth. Now, traditionally, yes, possibly he could have been, conceived around Christmas. I believe more so, though, during the Hanukkah season, because more and more scholars are starting to believe and accept that he was born on the Feast of Sukkot, or the Tabernacles. He was tabernacled among us. And so on, but anyway, that's a different topic. So there you have that. Now, so what are some of the practices of Christmas? Now, of course, I already talked about Malek, the god of prosperity or whatever, which later became Santa Claus, and where his hat came from. Now, here it is. This can be found in Jeremiah or Yirmiyahu chapter 10. This is Christmas we're talking about, and here is the mention of the Christmas tree in Scripture. Yirmiyahu 10, 1-4. Hear the word which Yahweh speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says Yahweh, do not learn the way of the Gentiles. See, he's reiterating it now in his Nevi'im, his prophets. Do not learn the way of the Gentile, or the Goyim, the foreign nations, the pagans. Do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, which I'll get into in a minute. For the Gentiles are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are futile, or of no effect. It's pointless. It's vanity. For one cuts a tree from the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers so that it will not topple. What does that sound like? First of all, it sounds like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree, which ironically they read from the Bible in that episode. But anyways, this is the Christmas tree. Back then, of course, it was not known as the Christmas tree because we hadn't profaned the beliefs or the Mashiach, the Messiah, with the paganism yet. In fact, he hadn't been born at this point. But anyways, this is the Christmas tree. This was a pagan practice. Now you got like Yuletide. Yule was a pagan god, and the wreath is another fertility symbol, as is the mistletoe. But let me talk about these the silver and gold that they decorate it with. Now, traditionally, according to the Egyptian sun god worship, the reason this got started is because the sun god Ra of the Egyptians, and that's how you really got so many different versions of the same god, is because when Yahweh split up the languages at the Tower of Babel, or where they were planning on building it, they carried with them their pagan traditions. So you have the sun god worship. So the Egyptians, they have their own language. That's where you get Ra from. Now, according to their legends and myths that are untrue, because, they, Ra, to prove his, godliness or whatever, chopped off his, that thing down, his private, gosh. And continued living and stuff like that. It's so stupid. But what the Christmas tree really is a phallic symbol. Now, if you don't know what a phallic symbol is, it's basically a phallic symbol represents I'm just going to say the word, I apologize, penis, is what it represents. And the gold and silver represent his, family jewels, so to speak, which is another thing. Now, take a look at the Washington Monument. I'm talking a whole lot more about things that I wasn't planning on. The Washington Monument is a phallic symbol. I know a lot of people probably don't believe that, but it is representative of the uncircumcised penis of Nimrod, who, by the way, again, by legend and myth and completely untrue doctrine, became Mithra, the sun god, and was reincarnated into Tammuz, who was the template for Santa Claus. Gosh, it's just so ridiculous. So there you have it, paganism. From Babylon, it's creeped up into America, it's creeped up into our churches, it is in everything. And so why am I telling you this? Because you're supposed to stop. Okay, he said, don't do it. Well, Michael, I've been doing it all my life. I mean, we celebrate Christmas. It's the birth of Jesus. We love it. But I'm telling you, Scripture, Yahweh, the one who created you, the one that can actually destroy you, and if you continue in your ways, probably will destroy you on Judgment Day. He says, don't do it. He doesn't like it. Okay? And he goes so far as to say, that's another passage I want to bring up. Let's go to Yirmiyahu chapter 7. I'm going to kind of back up. So he's talking to Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah. So you don't, by the way, I'm reading from the Complete Jewish Bible. I'm actually starting to like it. But where it says Adonai, I'm going to say the actual name of the Creator, Yahweh. Okay, so you, and he's talking to Yirmiyahu here, don't pray for this people. Don't cry, pray, or intercede on their behalf with me, because I won't listen to you. Don't you see what they're doing in the cities of Yehuda or Judah? In the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather the wood, the fathers light the fire, and the women knead the dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven. Who's that? I'm going to keep reading. I'll come back to it. And just to provoke me, they pour out drink offerings to other gods, other Elohim. Are they really provoking me, asks Yahweh, or are they provoking themselves to their own ruin? It says, therefore, here is what Yahweh Elohim says. My anger and fury will be poured out on this place, on men, animals, trees in the fields, and produce produce growing from the ground, and it will burn without being quenched. Here is, I'm going to stop there. Here's the perfect picture of a life gone wrong and opposite and in contradiction to the Torah of the Almighty Creator, Yahweh. And what will be your eventual end if you continue in these ways? Because remember, the job of the prophets, my voice is starting to go. My water's over there. Never mind. Okay, the job of the prophets was not to predict what's going to happen. It's basically to tell, and they all had the exact same message every single time. Turn from your wicked ways. Turn back to Teshuvah. Return Teshuvah back to Yahweh and His Torah. That was their message. And if you don't, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be destroyed. That was their message. So, okay, going back up here. Verse 18. Queen of Heaven. Who's the Queen of Heaven? Easter. Ishtar. Wait a minute, I thought we were the bride of Christ, and Christ dwells in heaven, therefore we're the Queen of Heaven. No, the Queen of Heaven, that is a term that was very commonly and very well known as referring to Easter, or Ishtar, or Astarte, or Esther. Okay, you got that? Alright, we're going to go back to this page. Running out of breath here. Listen, if you're a Christian, I used to be also. I am a Messianic believer now in the Hebrew Roots movement, returning and being involved in the restoration of the actual word and instructions and law of the Creator. That's who I am. But I used to be a Christian, so I know what it is to celebrate Easter, to celebrate Christmas. I know where you are. I've been there my entire life up until a few years ago. That's where I was. And I'll tell you what, I kept myself up at night. I couldn't sleep because this was just bothering me so bad that Scripture actually says these things, and to learn that what he's talking about here, these are the things that we practiced. I have since rid my life of these things. No more Christmas trees, no more Christmas. No more Santa Claus, no more Easter, no more egg hunts. We're done with it. Let's see if there's anything else. But he gives out a stern warning in Yirmiyahu 7. And let me go back to it, actually. Sorry. I had made mention that this was the perfect template of what will happen, your eventual end, and so on. Because let me show this. Now, first of all, and he has said this in Scripture before, that he does not hear the prayers of the sinful. They're an abomination to him. In fact, in Isaiah 58, I believe it's Isaiah 58. No, it isn't. Yeah, it is. No, it isn't. Never mind. I forget where it was. But I know it's in Scripture because I read it today. He's talking to these people who are... Yes, it is Isaiah 58. What am I smoking? Nothing, actually, because smoking is a pagan tradition also. He says that, he talks about how they're keeping their Sabbaths and their new moon festivals and the feasts and doing their sacrifices. All are good things, but they're doing them wrong. So they disgust him. So he says things like that. You might be doing right, but you're doing it the wrong way. But here he says that he's talking to Yirmiyahu, don't pray for these people, don't cry, pray, or intercede on their behalf with me, because I won't listen to you. He's like, so, okay, why? Why won't you listen to him? Don't you see what they're doing in the cities of Yehuda and the streets of Jerusalem? The children gather the wood, the fathers light the fire, and the women knead dough to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven, for Ishtar, pagan goddess. And just to provoke me, they pour out drink offerings to other gods. Are they really provoking me? Asked Yahweh, or are they provoking themselves to their own ruin? Therefore, and look at this, therefore, here is what Yahweh Elohim says, my anger and fury will be poured out on this place. I question whether or not they were done in the form of bowls of wrath. On men, animals, trees in the fields, and produce growing from the ground, and it will burn without being quenched. Sounds an awful lot like the lake of fire, doesn't it? Guys, I'm trying to tell you here that we worshipped. Let me put it this way: if you celebrate Easter and Christmas, even to God, it's an abomination to Him. He hates it. He doesn't pay any mind or attention to it. He hates it. He says he hates it. I'm coming to a close with this. Okay? He cannot stand it. He hates the very practice of it. It's wrong. I'm sure there's nothing else. But that was Deuteronomy 12. That's where the command was given to not follow after other gods and do like they do. But if you look in Deuteronomy 13, starting in verse 1, you'll start to see the element that even if a prophet rises up among you, and they give you signs and wonders and all kinds of fun things, But they teach you to get away from the ways of God and follow after the other ways. And here's why I'm bringing that up. He reiterates that in the book of this prophet here. Do not learn the way of the Gentile or the Goyim. Do not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the Gentiles are dismayed at them. That's how, and it's my strong belief that the Nephilim, or these false mighty ones, Elohim, kind of tried to show off for the people, and they were like, oh wow, and that's where you get Zeus and so on. And it's possible that there was some demonic persuasion, and that's where these practices came from. So the question is, are you going to worship God, or are you going to worship demons? It's important that you adhere to the words, the Devarim of Yahweh. Submit yourselves to His Torah, His instructions, which are found in the first 5 books. It acknowledged that, if you wear those bracelets, WWJD, what would Jesus do? I want one that says WWYD, what would Yeshua do? He didn't have anything to do with paganism, guys. So that's what it's all about here. Paganism, it creeps its way into everything. Paganism worships gods over trees, gods that God of the sun, God of the moon, God of the stars, God of the the Mother Earth, God of time, Father Time, and so on. And Yahweh says, not my people. My people are going to be kadosh. They will be holy, set apart, sanctified. They will be different and opposite of the way of the pagans. Don't do like they do. I hate those ways. They are an abomination. So this video, this message, all it is for was to tell you that you need to stop transgressing the Torah, the law of Yahweh. Stop practicing the things that the pagans do. Because if you are going to claim that you are a worshiper and follower of the Father on His throne, and Yeshua who sits at the right hand of the Father, then 1 John chapter 3 and 5, look it up. It says, this is how you show your love for God. You obey His commands, His commandments. Lo and behold, what's the first commandment? Not to have any other gods. Then there's not to have any graven, don't have any idols and graven images and so on. Keep the Sabbath holy. Remember the Sabbath. It's a big deal, guys. Because the first command, the greatest command, is that you love Yahweh your Elohim with everything you have. Okay? Thanks for listening. I pray that Yahweh leads you and guides you, helps you to discern between the spirits, and that He blesses you in the way that leads you into all truth, and that you are given the strength in the right time to say that as for me and my house, we are going to serve Yahweh. Don't just hear, obey. Shema. That's a Devarim command. Shema b'nai Yisrael. Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. Hear and obey, O Israel. Yahweh is our God. Yahweh is one. Very important, guys. Thanks for listening. Shalom to you, and more teachings to come. Shalom.